you know, Sifu, you are a kindred spirit. I love your book. I love both of your books. I can't wait to have you on our podcast. And it just, what you're doing is phenomenal, because we are an aging nation, and we are a sedentary nation, and your message is just, it's just fantastic.
I tried to come up with a one-word encapsulation of what I am about. And, you know, people think a variety of things. Well, you're intellectually minded, you're wellness minded. You do a research project on athletes before, during, and after their high performance years. But there's a lot of stuff in there. And so I said, if I had to come up with one word and how I could help athletes and regular people, and how I help myself if I'm making sure that I remain attentive to this word, is the word balance. So maybe you can share with me about a high performance athlete and busy person such as yourself throughout her lifetime, what balance has meant for you, and has being out of balance ever rocked you in a way that, you know, made you crumble a little bit, so you had to come back and be soft with the caretaking of your mind, body, and spirit, so that you could be that healthy and healthful wellness high performance athlete.
Yeah, so I think this is a really great point, and I will answer the first part of it as, yes, there was a time not that long ago where I was so out of balance with just training and everything, where I had breast cancer. This was within a 3-year window. I had breast cancer. I was caring for my mother, who had terrible Alzheimer's. She thought I was her sister. She would get mad at me. And I used to be, you know, like her golden child, her only daughter. We were best friends. And so she was fighting me every day while I was fighting breast cancer. She couldn't even understand when I told her that I had breast cancer and I was going into surgery. She couldn't even understand it. She just didn't grasp it. So I even had no support from my mom. At that time, when I was helping take care of my mom, we had just built a brand new 4-story home on the ocean, and it got hit by a hurricane and basically destroyed it right. Wow. Before we ever lived in it almost. So so those 3 things were going on all at the same time. Wow. And there wasn't a lot of time for working out. There wasn't a lot of time for meditating or eating right or doing anything. And so I had a lot of physical ailments and illnesses during those 3-year periods where I, you know, it just really knocked me down. So once I, you know, all these things resolved, I've been 5 years clear on breast cancer, and my mom passed away. You know, I miss her, but I think it was pretty, we were all thought it was pretty merciful that, because she was very healthy, she could have lived for a long time with Alzheimer's, but she actually was running through the, you know, facility she was in, and she headlong into a wall and had a brain bleed and died suddenly. So it was just we said, God, that was so merciful. But she was absolutely Looney Tunes. And then we got the house fixed. You know, it was a lot of money to fix it, but we had insurance. We got the house fixed, and you know, I got my life back in balance. Now, I will tell you that one of the things that I do ascribe to as a person who has achieved, you know, elite status as an athlete, that sometimes I believe that when we are going for something extreme, that we are out of balance, and we have to just admit, you know what, I'm going to swim every single day for the next 365 days because I'm going for this record. And this is, you know, everybody around me, I'm going to be out of balance. I'm going to be out of pocket. So I think sometimes if we know we're going to be out of balance and we plan for that it's a lot better than when we get knocked out of balance. And, you know, it's all about having control. So I think that for me is what balance means.
Wonderful. So I'm going to share a little story that when you were speaking, it popped into my head. When you're right, my first 2 books, Sedentary Nation and The Aging Athlete, I was working on one and just about done with it. And then it was in the editing process, and I met Dr. Bill Gallivan, an orthopedic surgeon in Santa Barbara, who himself, he is an athlete, and it has been so his entire life and is very good as an athlete. And he's very good at multitasking. He's got, at one time there were 6 kids living in his house. He kind of adopted one along the way. He had 5 of his own. And he told me to write The Aging Athlete. He said it's a new field in orthopedic medicine. He was replacing parts on Ronald McDonald, who lives in Santa Barbara, the original clown of Ronald McDonald, who's a skateboarding elite skateboarder. So all these athletes were coming to see him, including swimmers, and he's replacing parts and getting them back into action. And it wasn't just young. There were some athletes that were 14, 15 he was replacing parts on. So he said, write a book on the aging athlete. And it seemed like a very important thing. So I started on that and all my interview series. At the same time, I was finishing up my other book. I had 2 jobs at the time to pay for that. I was in a challenging relationship with a person that was very dear to me, but sometimes there was just friction. And so we had too much going on, but I was able to pull through all that. But I think what grounded me is my Jack LaLanne, and mixed with yoga, mixed with Bruce Lee, my morning program that I do every day. And it's not for muscles and bones, it's for my whole being and my connection with nature. I do it outside most of the time. And if I don't do that, and which is rare, maybe 4 times a year, I feel differently on those 4 days. It's amazing. So that's kind of my quest, my journey, and my grounding thing that I do each and every day. And the reward is that I'm balanced. And maybe you can tell me.